Welcome to the Jackson Strength Podcast, a podcast for athletes of all ages striving to be their best as an athlete and in life. I'm your host, Crystal Jackson, former pro beach volleyball player turned lifestyle and strength and conditioning coach. Each week, we will bring you someone inspiring and motivating to support you in discovering what it takes to succeed as an athlete and to become the greatest version of yourself. Welcome to podcast number 4. Today we have special guest and one of my best friends, Diane, Pascua Nelson, who is the Gonzaga University head women's volleyball coach. A former Bulldog herself, Diane is one of the first elect to take the reins of the volleyball program. She is one of the 12 Zags who's posted over 1,000 career kills and even 1,000 career. Diane also played professional beach volleyball on the AVP and FIVB tours and fell just short of making the 2008 Beijing Olympics, representing the country of the Philippines. She is married to her best friend Ryan Nelson, and they have a son named Mason. In our interview, we talk about what it took for her to compete at a high level for beach volleyball and what it took to make a run for the 2008 Olympics. We also dive deep into the best ways to be recruited as a youth volleyball athlete, what it takes to get noticed, and how to show up prepared for an unofficial visit. This and so much more in today's episode. Welcome, everybody. This is the Jackson Strength Podcast, and today I have a very special guest, one of my best friends, Diane Pascua Nelson, and she is the head coach at Gonzaga University. And Diane, I really just want you to actually start off and share a little bit of your story because, you know, you were a volleyball player, pro beach volleyball player, and now college coach. So dive right in.
Hi. Well, I'll rewind, let's see, almost 20 years. I know, to the point where I was, a little more than 20 years actually, as I was finishing up high school and I was being recruited by Gonzaga University, and I ended up playing volleyball there. I played 4 years, and at that point thought my volleyball career was finished. That's what you do. You play 4 years and you're done. And at that point, I decided to move to San Diego, California, where there was sun. And I discovered at the time sand volleyball. But I guess prior to that, when I moved, I decided I should probably find a job. And I ended up coaching a club volleyball team where all the athletes on the team were from Santa Fe Christian High School. So they let me in on the fact that there was an opening at the school. And so I decided to apply. I was a PE major at Gonzaga, so I applied for a teaching job. And lo and behold, at 22 years old, I was a full-time PE teacher and head volleyball coach. So I discovered a lot in that 5 years that I was there about, I grew up a lot being a head coach and teaching a real class. So through those 5 years, learned a ton about coaching, discovered a lot about myself and what I really, really liked. I didn't know that teaching was a direction I really wanted to go. I just knew I loved the physical education aspect. So within those 5 years, on the weekends, I found myself at the beach. And I picked up a sand volleyball and started competing at the lower CBVA level, A, AA, AAA. And then found that I actually found a lot of success in it. So after 5 years, I resigned from my job at Santa Fe Christian. As crazy as that was, I decided I wanted to pursue volleyball full-time and coach club. So at that point, about 2005, I was actually had been invited by a friend who had dual citizenship with the Philippines to compete with her as a citizen of the Philippines. So after a long process of, I guess, establishing citizenship in the Philippines, became a dual citizen and started competing internationally. So in 2005, I was in the Philippines competing. And after that, decided we were going to not only compete on the AVP, but we were going to try to go to the Beijing Olympics in 2008. So for 2 years, 2007 and 2008, both the girl I was playing with and myself, we traveled pretty much to every FIVB event around the world, lived out of a suitcase, barely made enough to eat, but really, in looking back, we were well taken care of. We competed well, we won enough to eat, we had a few sponsors here and there. So for 2 years, traveled the world, fell short before Beijing, came back from that in 2008 and really looked back and said that was the best thing we'd ever done.
I have chills. Like, I know this story. And I still, like, I have chills right now. No joke. And I know I'm cutting off it real quick. The reason why I have chills is you took such a risk, if you want to call it, or opportunity is what I like to say. It's not a risk. It was an opportunity, and you went for it. And you had, like you said, you didn't know if you were going to be able to eat. Like, you barely had enough food to eat, but I know you and Heather, and it was just like, or Heidi, sorry, not Heather. Heather's sister, Heidi. It was incredible, and it was such a fun journey being your friend and watching and supporting you through it, and it just like brought back, and crazy, it's been 11 years ago. I just want to make a note of, or sorry, not 11 years, 9 years. That's insane. But keep going. I just wanted to say.
Thank you. It's insane. When I talk about it now, and I'll finish, but when I talk about it now, it's surreal. It's like, did I really do that? Was I that kind of crazy at the time? I let go of a full-time job, a stable job that I thought I really loved, and I loved the people, but at the time it was like the right thing to do for me, and all the people around me supported me. So I said, you know what, if I fail, at least I tried it. So go back, 2008, came back from all my travels. I mean, I truly played, I want to say I played on 5 continents. I didn't get to Antarctica, and I didn't get to Africa. So other than that, I played on every continent. But after that, I really had to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? I continued to play the AVP tour, and I was still in love with competing. I was still in love with sand volleyball. I still coach club volleyball. I knew that volleyball was always going to be a part of what I do, but at that point, people kept kind of asking, how long are you going to play? And is this a sustainable job? And I didn't really know the answer to that. It worked for me at the time. So I really kept going until 2010, and then started really thinking about, should I be looking to do something else? At that point in my life, I reconnected with my now husband, via Facebook Messenger. We reconnected, and within 6 months, we both had fallen in love with each other. And I was in the middle of my AVP season and decided this might be my last season, because this could be real love. And I decided I was going to move. I was going to move from San Diego to Spokane, Washington, where I had gone to school. I did not know that, I guess I didn't realize, I didn't know what I was going to do in Spokane. All I knew, I was in love. I was just about done with my career in sand volleyball, because the youngsters were coming out and starting to beat up on the old ladies. And I was an old lady at the time. So January 1st, 2011, my car was packed, and I drove to Spokane, and I brought my dog and myself, and I had no job. Again, here we go. I had no job. I had no idea what I was going to do except love this man and figure it out, because I figured something out before that I loved, and I made it, and I was going to do it again. So couple of things came up. I decided to knock on the door at Gonzaga, at the volleyball coach's door, and ask if I could come and play. I was still in the best shape of my life. He looked at me and he goes, well, I know your name, but I don't know you at all. So I don't know how this is going to work. And so I kind of just waited to see if they would contact me to come play, or I didn't think they'd trust me to coach. They didn't know me. So I was able to get in and play a little bit, and I think they realized there might be something here. She might be able to help us a little bit. I said, I'll do this for free. I've been coaching for the last 10 years. So I'll speed it up because I'm taking a long time, but
I mean, I'm loving it all, and I keep getting chills. I teared up when you're talking about, your husband. I'm just I love your husband, so it's beautiful.
I love him too. Here we are, 2011. It's the spring of 2011, and I'm playing some indoor volleyball, which I hadn't played since 99, I didn't really play any more indoor volleyball. I just played sand volleyball, and I coached indoor volleyball. So I was playing some indoor, and then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna work on my master's degree. I don't know why. I never had wanted to do that before, but I was at a university and I had a lot of free time, and I thought, you know what, maybe this will help me figure out what I really want to do. So I decided to do that. At the same time I was playing. By the end of that spring, the second assistant had surprisingly decided, and nobody really knew this, decided she was going to take another job in the university that didn't require travel because she was pregnant with her second baby. So at that point, the head coach at the time, Dave Gant, decided to ask me to volunteer for that fall. So it was kind of a 6-month interview. It's like, is this really someone that could help our program? Is this really going to work? And he wanted me to decide if I really wanted to do this, because it wasn't the same as high school or club volleyball.
Yeah.
So I took the offer to volunteer. He ended up, by the end of that time, realized I could probably do this. So he hired me full time as a second assistant, which was like a dream come true. It was kind of, well, I don't even know if it was a dream. It was, okay, college volleyball, we'll see where this goes. Let's see if I am any good at it. And lo and behold, it's so relationship driven that it became exactly what I wanted to be doing. I wanted to be around people. I wanted to be coaching the sport. And it really challenged me, which is what I wanted as well. It's something that I think to this day has kept me in the coaching world, is the challenge of it. So, I guess that was 2011. So it's now 2016 still, I think. Yes. I am now the head coach. So needless to say, I enjoyed what I was doing. I grew in what I was doing. I was a second assistant for 2011, 2012. And then some change happened within our staff, and he asked me to move up into the first assistant role, which was a recruiting coordinator role, which actually was hard. It was a hard decision because I knew that it meant a lot of travel, and I knew that could take a toll on my family. At that point, we had just gotten married too. So we were newlyweds, my husband and I, Ryan, and we were thinking about kids, but nothing had happened yet. We had not gotten pregnant, but I just knew it was going to be something that could really, really make it hard, was traveling, being away. So I came home, asked my husband what he thought. He says, Di, if this is what you want, I'll support it. I'll know. We'll have to work harder on our relationship. We'll have to work harder on how we do it when you travel, like how we do relationship stuff while you travel. But he was as supportive as anybody, and he has been to this day. So I came back to work and said, okay, I accept that first assistant position. And it really didn't turn out to be as bad as I thought it would be, because I made all the decisions on traveling. So I got to decide where I wanted to go and when I wanted to go. And so that actually is nice to have that control. So fast forward, I'm in that position. And let's see, let's get to 2015, which is when we had decided we were ready to start our family. And we ended up adopting our son, Mason, who is the joy of our life. And after a long struggle with not getting pregnant, stop crying.
Sorry. It's me. It's who I am.
It's probably the hardest process of our entire life. And I don't know that there could be anything harder than what we went through as a couple, waiting on an adoption. And working through just what the roller coaster that takes you through while we're both working full time. We're still, to a degree, newlyweds. But Mason ended up entering our life on June 19th. He was born June 16th, 2015. And at that point, I had such good relationships with my staff at Gonzaga that I took a little bit of time off. We were in the NICU at the hospital for 3 weeks with Mason before we were able to take him home. So that was happening in the middle of the summer, and we got through that. July 8th, we brought him home. Went through my 2015 season with a newborn, and thank goodness for fantastic grandparents, because Ryan's dad, Larry, stayed at our house Monday through Friday to watch Mason. And that was really the biggest test of whether I could still coach college athletics and be a mom and be okay with leaving my baby every day. And I guess it's never going to be easy, but I love my job enough, and I love the balance in my life right now. So we made it through that season, and in May of 2016, the head coach at the time took another job at the University of Great Falls, and I was offered the head coaching job. So
Wow.
pitched myself for a couple days. To this day, people ask me, you know, what's it like? Is it a lot different? And I said, it is, but I think I prefer being the head coach. I think I like this better than being an assistant. So there's a lot of still figuring out, but here we are now, December, after my first season.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm sorry I got emotional. I just, love and adore you, and it's who I am. I get emotional.
You've lived my roller coaster with me.
I did go through the roller coaster with you, and I think that's why it's, it hits home for me, because I've been there, and and I'm just so happy for you guys, and I love little Mason. He is just adorable, and my kids love him. Like, even I was like, hey, Dylan, I'm going to go do an interview with Diane. Remember Diane? She has baby Mason. He's like, oh, yeah, gets all excited. And so they,
And he's growing. He's getting so big. He's climbing. It's so fun, though. Like, you told me, everybody tells me, it's so fun. It's so tiring. It's so worth it. And it absolutely is. It makes me smile to drive home in traffic. Like, I'm going to be home and I get to see Mason soon, what traffic there is here in Spokane.
Yeah. Don't even talk about traffic. Traffic in California is traffic, but
seriously.
But I do want to talk, as an athlete, I want to talk a little bit about you being an athlete and your adventure of going overseas and competing. What did it take from you to train and to be playing at that level? So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then I do want to ask you questions about college. But, what did it take from you as an athlete? Because, at Jackson Strength, we have athletes of all ages, as you know. I mean, you've seen us grow this business from the ground up.
I have.
And, yes, you have, and you've been, such an amazing supporter of us and our game. But, what are some things that you can share with our athletes that, it took X, Y, and Z to make this happen? Because I feel like, at least where we are right now, there's some athletes that they get it right away mentally. They get it, right? They understand. I get to do the extra work that will, if I want to get a scholarship, like I knew as a kid, like if I wanted a scholarship, I had to go weight train in LA. I drove an hour to go there.
Yeah.
And then there's the other crew that kind of thinks like they should get it because they work hard at practice. So, what are some tips that you can share with them?
For me, when I first started playing in the sand, it was just fun. And I was really eager to learn from the others on the beach that were around me at the time. They weren't necessarily professionals. They had just been doing it longer. So I know one of the first things I had to do was be coachable by the people around me and the people that had been there, no matter what level they had played or were playing. I had to be able to say at the age of, like, I was just out of college, so 21, 22, I had to say, okay, I still have more to learn. And that's hard because I was a Division I college athlete, and I had learned a lot, I thought. And so I knew I had to really listen to people. Even if I started beating them, I still listened to what they said because I knew they had more experience than me. So that was a big factor in my early stages of learning the sport of sand volleyball when I made that transition. After, I think, a few years of competing at a good level, I knew that if I'm going to do this, I've got to commit even more. Mm-hmm. So when I did decide to quit my full-time job, it was about creating the time to do everything that I needed for my body and for my prep. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it the best I can. So I think the next thing was just being disciplined in really, at this point, I'll tell you, it was really just practicing my sand volleyball and lifting weights. And that was good, but it wasn't good enough because I was finishing, maybe in the top 20. And for a lot of people at that point, they'd say that was success. And for me, I felt average still. So, I love the competition part. I had accepted that this was something that really drove me, but I had added, remember in 2005, 2006, I decided to play internationally. So I knew at that point, okay, well, I'm going to be traveling a lot. So there's got to be something else I can be doing for my body and my recovery and all that. So nutrition was something that I had never, ever thought about, ever. I could just eat whatever I want, play, and I was fine. But I also, this is going to sound maybe kind of shallow, but I also knew my body it didn't look like everyone else's body. Like I knew there was another level I could take this to. So I'd added in really literally, Crystal, from you guys, taking in what it meant to eat whole foods and what it meant to cut out the processed foods. And I fell in love with that. I fell in love with really working on committing to that because it did keep me challenged on a daily basis. So I started off with talking about being coachable at an older age, thinking I knew a lot, but I really didn't. Discipline was huge. And then the nutrition aspect really catapulted me into the next level. And so, and I had to sacrifice a little bit here and there. Not a lot. I was single, so I didn't really have anyone else that I had to worry about. And I think that was purposeful. I didn't want to spend time on anyone else. It was really me. And it was a great time in my life too, to be able to focus on me, but it created such an awareness of what my body was capable of. When I really thought at the time, I was a good athlete coming out of high school, I was a good athlete at Gonzaga, but I could see that with hard work and with commitment to some of these things, weightlifting, actually sleeping better, eating better, I added yoga into my workouts. It was a full-time deal for me. Mm-hmm. So those would probably be the biggest things.
I remember that too. I mean, you were so dedicated. You really did take your game to the next level. I mean, you were having great finishes on the AVP too.
Yeah.
After, and it was, you guys did really well in your career. And so what I'm hearing you say is you really just committed to yourself.
Yeah.
So whether it was, creating the time and space for your weightlifting, your meal prepping, your yoga, is whatever it took. Basically, you did whatever it took to put you to the next level.
Yeah, I did. And I was still coaching club. That's how I supplemented a lot of or paid for a lot of this. But I would have to decide where's my money best spent. And I mean, once I picked up yoga, that was such a mental and emotional aspect of my training that I didn't realize I didn't have before. So it changed a lot. It changed a lot of how I prepped and how I recovered. Once I was, and when I was traveling, you could do yoga on the road too. So you have that aspect. Eating becomes the hardest thing to do well on the road when you're in Asia and you're, in some of these countries that you just don't know how to, you have to be really, really careful and particular.
Mm-hmm. I remember that, we both started doing yoga around a similar time. And in my AVP career, which, I knew I was doing the right thing. I was training on the beach all the time. I was lifting, getting stronger, but I also needed, like you're talking about, that recovery time of, and yoga is, Americanized yoga. Let's just say that, it's not yoga from India, but it's a yoga practice from America that has been Americanized. But I know that it really just kind of was a full component for me in the sense of I was taking care of my body, training, and then physically getting stronger in the weight room and mentally stronger. And then also the recovery, relaxing part of yoga and relaxing the brain. So I loved it. I mean, and especially we love Yoga Tropics, like, and we'll give a little shout out to Yoga Tropics. They're incredible. I was there when there was like 3 people in the class, like me, Margaret, and Tracy, when they first started. And I think they are just celebrating like their 11th or 12th year, something like.
Really?
Yeah, I just saw something. I can't remember if it was 11 or 12 years, and I'm just so happy for them because they really have changed a lot of lives through, yoga practice and connecting people. And so it's been really cool.
I still, if I try to pop in every time I travel to San Diego, and they still, Margaret, hi Diane. I mean, she still remembers me, and I'm not there very often now. So
I know, they're so great. But well, I'd love for you to actually, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about college volleyball. So, what are some things these athletes can do for recruiting? Because I feel like that's such a big component where they're training, practicing, and they're getting better as an athlete. And then they're coming into the weight room, hopefully, and improving themselves, getting more athletic, jumping higher, getting faster, which is so important on the court. Yeah. But what can they do as an athlete to get noticed or be recruited?
Gosh, that is the question, isn't it?
It is.
At this point, after it's been 6 years for me in the recruiting process from the coaching side of it. Mm-hmm. And I would say one of the most important things that I prefer to see from a student athlete is them taking the initiative to reach out, not their parents taking the initiative. To a degree, not the recruiting services taking the initiative, but them taking the initiative. And that's not always as easy as it sounds, but and I think before you take that initiative, which is sending an email or making a phone call, or even expressing to what might be a club coach to come up and talk to me or a coach of a school you're interested in, be realistic about where you can play, because the number of emails that come through my inbox of athletes that just on paper, and I'll say this as there are athletes we read on paper that we'll just skip right by, and then we'll see them live and we go, wait, didn't that athlete just write us? Wait, that is not what I read on paper. That what I'm watching isn't what I read. So you can't see everything through an email. So adding video to an email is really important.
Awesome.
That would be the first thing I would tell a student athlete is you take the initiative and make sure there's video included in your email.
And how long is a good video clip? Just so that, we make sure, is it like 10 seconds or 2 minutes? Like what's the minimum? What's the max?
I would say 10 seconds would be pretty short. I like to see, I don't necessarily prefer a highlight video, to be honest. I want to see the good, the bad. I want to see between plays. Okay. I'll take a whole match. That's not every coach. They'll never watch a whole match. I'll never watch a whole match, but I'll watch probably 3 or 4 plays in a row. I want to see movement. I want to see you in serve receive and maybe hitting offensively. I want to see you in transition. It depends on your position. If you send a highlight video, which is just you and a coach in the gym, we usually don't take that as much because it can be edited all at once so that you look like the best player in the world, and a lot of times it's off a toss. So the reality of that transferring into real live volleyball isn't good.
Well, and I love that because it makes it more real. So what I hear you saying is you want the kid contacting you, not the parent. And I hope everyone is hears that. It's very clear. And I believe that too as an athlete. And I'll share my little recruiting story very quickly. So I played, you know this, but I played at UCLA, and I had gotten a letter from them in May. I think it was like end of May, like May 24th or something. So it's right before JOs. I go the next week and I do an unofficial. So I go on campus. I remember because the girls are going through finals. Ashley Bowles is saying hi to Annie Bidikowski. He's asking about how her finals are going. So I totally remember this. Then it's July 4th. I think it was July 4th. I finished my last game. And at JOs, and then now I could, or maybe it's July 1st, so whatever the date was, I could now go up and talk to them. I was a junior, just finished my junior year. And I went up and I talked to my coaches, and I saw them and I sat down next to them, and I was in these short white shirts and this little crop top. Not like classy or anything, but we were in New Orleans, so it was super hot. And I go up and I said, hey, Andy and Kim, can I talk? And they're like, well, do you want to talk or do you want to talk? I'm like, I want to talk business. Like, I want to go to UCLA. And my coach, Kim, I'm still very close with, still reminds me of how I sold myself to them, because I went up and I talked to them. And I don't know if that's true for you, but I basically went to them and they were recruiting me. So there was partly, they were already recruiting me, but I went and talked to them and I said, this is where I want to go to school. Like, I want to be a setter for you guys. I don't even remember our conversation in the sense of they end up leading the conversation, but it took me doing the work and not my mom and dad, because my mom and dad wouldn't sell me. It's me selling me. And that's what I hear you saying in the sense for the athlete. Like, you get to be the one, presenting yourself, talking and calling the coach and just saying hi, and also being realistic about what your level is. But also with that, sorry, I'm kind of jumping around, but here's my question. Let's say an athlete wants to go to your school, but they're not there yet. I mean, there's the belief of, yes, anything is possible, but what's some things that they can do to improve to make a better chance, not just Gonzaga, but just in general for college?
Yeah. It's funny because you saying that, I think of it, well, it could be a physical not there yet. It could be a mental not there yet. I've experienced kids that initially they're not there yet physically. Like, okay, you want to come to Gonzaga, maybe it's your dream school, or UCLA is your dream school, but physically you're not there yet. So what transpires from the time we say, you know what, you're just not quite where our other recruits are, or what we need, depending on how much time they have left before they're going to enter the college years. I'll be pretty pointed with kids about, here's what I don't see yet. So here's what needs to be worked on. The other side of it is, if they stay in my ear, if they stay calling me, if they stay sending me emails and they stick to it, there's something to be said about that persistence. There's something to be said about them really wanting to be at Gonzaga. You get the best of a kid if they get a chance. If you are one, and you can't give everyone a chance. It just doesn't make sense for a program that we want to win. And if I give everyone a chance and they're not capable, that doesn't make sense. But if it's the right kid and they've expressed, all the reasons they want to be there, and they're the right reasons, and I can speak from the perspective of a scholarship or the perspective of a walk-on. It really depends on the scenario. But the persistence, actually, to some coaches, it might be annoying. To us, it's pretty cool to see, because that kid knows what they want and they're confident in it and they exude that confidence. And half of coaching is getting your kids to believe in themselves.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there is something I think really cool. And I can't think right now off the top of my head of a kid that maybe wasn't there physically, but just pushed and pushed and pushed. I would say a few of our kids, maybe now that are coming in, or that came in this last fall, they came to camp, first year at camp, not ready. By the second year, after watching them through club, not sure. By that third year, and this is 3 years coming to camp, saying, I want to be a Zag, I want to be a Zag. She might have really been listening to us, and maybe they're on our roster now.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about, are you open to, like, let's say I'm an athlete that really wanted to go to your school. Would it be beneficial for the athlete to contact you and say, here's my live video. I'm just trying to think of a scenario for an athlete. Here's my live video. Can you please give me feedback? Like, what would it take for me to be a Zag? Would that be something good for an athlete to do if they knew Gonzaga or Baylor or UCLA or whatever their dream school was, to get feedback from the coach?
Yeah, yes and no. Well, with all of the recruiting rules, with NCAA compliance, we can speak to juniors and seniors on the phone in terms of, like, I can email you, I can call you. If you're younger than that, you have to email me, and then you have to follow up with a phone call, because I can't call you, or maybe through a club coach we can connect. So there's some rules that make it really hard to be able to communicate as easily as what you just said.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. I actually have quite a few, and actually by the time a recruit comes and sits in our office, which would be the next thing I would say, if you really want to go to one of those schools or come to Gonzaga, once you send video, say, I'm ready to take an unofficial visit. At that point, it might not hurt anything, both sides. It might not hurt us, it might not hurt them to take an unofficial visit if that's how serious they are. And at that point, I've had kids say, okay, you watched me play, last weekend or 2 weeks ago. What did you think?
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't ask me that. And I tell them, well, I saw you play. Here's what I saw. And they kind of look at me like, oh, you're being really specific right now. Well, that's the point, I think, So I appreciate that. A kid that will follow up with a phone call or an email that says, I'm going to call you at this time and I want to talk about what you saw in my video. Because it really keeps me accountable to doing my job and actually watching those videos. We watch a lot of videos.
I can imagine.
A lot, yeah.
Well, thank you. I guess one more thing is, are you able to email them back if they're a freshman or sophomore? No. Only so they can email you, schedule a time, or basically say, I'm going to call you at 2:00 on Tuesday, and hopefully you're there.
Yeah, and they can text, and I tell kids if they happen to catch me on a phone call or something, or like they call me and I answer. It's funny because some kids won't call because they don't think you know who they are, but most college coaches, if you're going to call them, by the time you call them, they probably know who you are.
Yeah.
But I tell them to text me like, hey, I'll call you in 30 minutes. And that way, all of us college coaches text. We all have our phones on us 24/7. So that's a good way to just be on the lookout for a phone call from a random number in a half an hour if they prep you with one of those. But yeah, the rules keep us all safe, I guess, from too much bombarding.
Yeah. You do have a life. You do have a family and everything. Yeah. So I do want to touch real quick about, when kids come for their unofficials, what are some tips for them? Because I know when I came to my unofficial, and I'm a very outgoing, personable person.
Yes, you are.
Well, I was nervous, right? Like I'm nervous to go in there, and I know, these athletes are nervous even just to email or pick up the phone. And, imagine them coming into your office, which you've seen, like how nervous they are. What are some things that they can do to prepare?
Well, I'll tell you the first thing I try to do, if I don't forget to do this, but the first thing I do when I meet an athlete is tell them, don't be nervous. Like I'm just a person.
Yeah.
And we're going to just get to know each other as fast as we can on this visit. So from that point, if I get like then I know, okay, maybe we can dive into this deeper than we normally would have. But if when an athlete comes, it typically come with a parent. So really important that the athlete is prepared with some questions. It doesn't have to be a lot, but that they actually are invested in this visit more than the parents maybe. Because I've talked to a parent for an entire visit, and it becomes kind of awkward to say, excuse me, so-and-so, I want to talk to your daughter now. I prefer that the daughter comes in, and I think that shows that one, they're prepared, two, they have the ability to communicate with an adult. And if this visit is going to be a snapshot of what we are at Gonzaga, what we have to offer, then it's definitely a snapshot into what they'll be like as an athlete to coach. So we have to be able to communicate. And if I'm going to have to read your body language the whole time or prompt you to get the real thought or the real feeling out, it can be a really difficult relationship that we have. So I tell people as soon as they walk in my office, the number one most important piece of this working for me as a coach and you as a student athlete is that we have a relationship that is beyond just the volleyball court. And so we work on building it from the second they walk in the office. And so everything I can do and my staff can do to make them feel comfortable, to be able to open up is hugely important. Beyond that, I would say make sure they know what their priorities are. I've heard it both ways. I've heard, I don't really know my priorities are. And I said, well, I don't really know why you're here, Yeah. If they don't know what they want to major in or anything like that, I get that. I mean, I didn't know I still don't know what I should make today, but just be real.
Yeah.
Be as real as you can be when you walk in a coach's office. They want to get to know you. And I haven't done an unofficial visit on a college campus myself in quite a long time, so I don't know what it's like for other universities. But for us, it is about getting as deep as we can in a short amount of time, and being real with my answers and what I want. And so
I love it. And I forgot to share this earlier. What I love about your university and your program is it really is a family atmosphere, and literally a family atmosphere, because your brother Drew is your assistant coach.
Yes.
And I love your brother too. I love your family, everyone. And it really is a really cool, tight-knit community. And I did want to share one other tip that came up for me as you were talking, something that I learned as a young athlete at 14 years old. I should actually say I learned it probably at 15. I was 14 playing on an 18s team, which is very rare, but where I grew up, there wasn't a ton of high-level teams around my area. So my mom drove me 30 minutes to go play for this team called the Renegades and Brian Heffernan. And as a sophomore, I got mono. And what my coach did that he taught me that was so important, I want everyone to hear this, he called me every single day. I'm not joking. Every single day when I had mono. And he built that relationship with me, and I trusted him. So when I went into college, Andy Banikowski was not looking to have a let me take that back. He might have been looking to have a relationship with me, but I took it on my own terms of I'm going to have a relationship with my coach. And I went in and I watched video with him, and I had lunch with him, and it wasn't kissing his butt. It was literally, we need to work together. Like, you're the head coach, I'm the setter. I need to have a relationship. You need to trust me, and I need to trust you. And that was such a key to my success as a setter and as a leader, was just being able to have a conversation like you're talking about, them coming in and having an adult conversation with you. So just wanted to share that little snippet there.
That's absolutely huge.
Yeah. Well, Di, thank you so much for your time. I just have loved this interview and I've learned so much about recruiting, being out of it for so long. And I'm really, really grateful for your time. But I have 3 last questions for you. So my first.
Oh, man. Okay.
Okay. The first one is, what is the number one takeaway for everyone today? Like, what's the number one thing? We talked about a ton of things, commitment, committing to yourself, taking control, whether with your recruiting, training, nutrition, what's the number one takeaway that you can say, here's the thing to work on for right now?
Gosh, this could be one of the hardest things and something you work on your whole life. But I think if I put a theme to everything I've said, it was really know what you are about and what you want. So knowing what your values are and going with it no matter what. And that a lot of doors open when that happens. Don't do it because someone else wants you to do it. Do it because you want to do it.
And I love that you say that, because I love saying be unapologetically you. Or I have like this little saying at the end, I say I'm unapologetically me. Like, I'm me, and you Di, there's these things you're like, oh, Crystal, like but you let me for me, because I want to make, a bracelet for you at a volleyball game, or eat cheese with raisins, or and I love you for you. And that's what I think is so cool, and everyone to hear, like, just be yourself, and these coaches are going to like you. Yeah. And if they don't, it's not a good fit, and that's totally okay. There's no failures. It's just like, it's okay, because you want it to be a good fit.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. What is the number one thing that you've committed to in your life that's made the biggest difference?
Gosh.
That's a tough one.
I know. I would say it's along the same lines. Like, what is really important to me is family, and expressing my love, and I think just appreciation for having people that actually love me back. Mm-hmm. So I would say that no matter where I am, I mean, I am here for a reason. I'm in this place for a reason, and being surrounded by people that love me and make me feel like I'm okay who I am, and I'm okay with what is important to me. So I don't know if that's like one thing, but
it's perfect.
That's what you get.
Thank you. I love it. And then what would you say are your 3 keys to success and abundance? And abundance is just having an amazing life. Yes, financial, but like, you know, you're abundant with your family, your career, your relationships, financially. Like, what does it take to be successful in life?
This is so something I've been reading lately, but being vulnerable, like being okay failing, like knowing if I'm going to do this, I could fail, but thank you to those of you that give me a shot at doing it. So being a mom, thank you for giving me a shot at doing it, being a head coach, being a wife, being a friend, but being vulnerable, I think, is huge. Being open-minded. I have just come across too many judgmental people that just irk me. It's caused me to rethink sometimes what I say, how I respond, or even how I walk away from a conversation. So being open-minded to everybody being different and like embracing people's diversity. It probably sounds like I've been reading a lot, huh? But being open-minded, being vulnerable, and taking risks. I think from the day I decided to leave San Diego, it's risk upon risk if you look at it that way, but it's also just stepping through that door.
I love it. So being vulnerable, open-minded, and taking risk. And I just want to throw in, that is a very growth mindset, what you just said. You know, being open-minded, taking the risk, being vulnerable, it's very open, or a growth mindset. And you did take a lot of risks. You took opportunities of doors that opened, and look where you are now, you know, and it was your path. And I just want to take a minute here to acknowledge you, and I'm going to get emotional. But I'm so grateful that you were in my life, and I just acknowledge you for the woman that you are, the wife that you are, the mother, the coach, and the friend that you are. And I'm truly, truly honored to be here with you in this life and journey. And I love you dearly. And thank you for being the gift that you are to this world and the gift that you are to your team and everyone out there. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you too.
I love you. Well, thank you for your time today. And as much as I love my school, I totally support Gonzaga and wish you guys the best of luck, especially or every time except if you play UCLA, of course. But thanks, babe. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to find out more information about Jackson Strength, visit our website, jacksonstrength.com, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, YouTube.com/Jackson Strength, where you will find interviews as well as tons of exercises we give to our athletes across the world. Be sure to tune back every Monday, where I'll be interviewing someone inspiring in the industry as well as pro athletes. And every Wednesday for current and former Jackson Strength athletes, and every Friday I interview my husband, co-founder and owner of Jackson Strength, for his knowledge of the week. If you have any questions that you would like us to answer, please email us at office@jacksonstrength.com.